we go, my friend. So,
Uh,
DJ, today we got, as we were just quickly talking about off air here, we're streaming to multiple channels today. We're trying a couple of new ninja tactics. So, we've got YouTube, Facebook, both the HPLS as well as your Freight 101 tips and tricks page. We've got my LinkedIn page and we've got my Instagram channel that it seems like we're going to. For all y'all watching, listening, we'll kind of go through this a few times during this session, but I'm trying to figure out if we're still going to be able to see chat, if people are actually going to be jumping in and out. I know that the Facebook one works, but with Restream, you never know when it comes to the other one. So, hey, welcome everybody. DJ Flores, my friend. So DJ runs Freight 101 Tips and Tricks for Brokers, Facebook group that I got introduced with DJ, and we decided that every Tuesday and Thursday we're going to run a little like 30, 45, even sometimes an hour, depending on how the conversation goes, just on strategies, tips, and tricks for all y'all salespeople out there in the logistics and transportation world. So, DJ, welcome again, my friend. Now that
hey,
I've got the
thank you,
intro out of
man.
the way for
Oh,
the
no, you're
intro out of the
good.
way for the other categories and situations, because now we're no longer just in your Facebook group.
Yes.
Why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll jump into the conversation of the day, the essence
All
of
right.
business
So yeah,
growth. We're all
a
about.
little bit about myself. So I created for everybody we're streaming to now. I created the Freight 101. Actually, I think it was called Freight Broker Training and Tips 101. Now I just changed it to Freight 101 because there's a lot of groups out there, and I think it's just like watching us here. There's a lot of people trying to put information out there and help, but sometimes there's good advice, sometimes there's bad advice. So you just want to do your research and listen to and learn from as many as you can to figure out what works. But I found when I got into this industry now 5 6 years ago, I don't know, but I did a lot of research with joining Facebook groups and seemed like just like the industry itself, they were very cutthroat. So I created this one just to really find people like Dan. Dan is probably one of the best reasons of why I created this group to begin with. His goal, his mission to help other salespeople was kind of my mission as well to creating this group. Was I had background on me. I've done sales my whole life. That's all I've ever done is sales. I've done so much sales training for everything you could possibly think of. I was in retail for a long time, then went to in-home sales when I got burnt out of that, and then got introduced to this fine logistics industry. And at first, I thought you're crazy. There's no way you can make money doing that. I'm going to sit here and call people on the phone and move people's loads. What are you talking about? Let me tell you guys, whoever tells you on Facebook groups, and you groups know who I'm talking about, especially brokers, the big three-letter brokers. We'll just say that. Dogging people on Facebook, saying that there's no money in this. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying to everybody. And there is a ton of money in this, a ton of opportunity. And I think the reason there's so much money is it's still very secretive. Even when you work at bigger companies, they want to keep the hidden gems close to the chest, and that's what Dan created here is giving you those golden nuggets that he's experienced over these 28 years of his experience and my short time. So I learned a lot from Dan as well. So thank you, man. But
Well,
yeah,
you know
that's
what? You've
what I
added
created.
a million bits of gold to the conversation. And you know what?
Come on,
Um,
man.
DJ, no, you did, brother. You did. Let's dive right into it, because I think, the essence of what we're looking to do here is just, give everybody, like you said, these tips, tricks, and strategies in order to, not necessarily tricks, just strategies that really can,
Correct.
in essence, move the needle, right? Like that's what it's all about. The more we do in our sales, the more we move the needle in our business, the better we are, and the better life we can live, and the more energy, joy, and vitality we can bring to other people. Because you'll notice we talk a lot about Mr. Good old Zig Ziglar, the legend, the man.
My
But
man.
it's money's not important, but it's probably just as important as air. And this
God.
isn't a let's go buy a Ferrari kind of important, but it's like, you want to do something, you want to show your family, your kids, just, you want to see different things, you want to experience things, and it takes money to do it. And you know today the topic that we're going to talk about is follow up. So the way I see it, and DJ, let's bounce this, let's play with this, brother.
Oh
But
yeah.
we sit here and we say, okay, there's a couple of key pieces of our sales sequence that matters. And the key ingredients that move the needle is obviously prospecting, whether that be cold calling, reference, whatever you call your prospecting right now. Maybe you're at the point in your business where you're not really making very many sales calls, but you know what? You're getting references from customers left, right, and center. Okay. The second piece is follow up. If you don't follow up and you only just have an initial conversation, never do anything, you're never going to move the needle. And 98% of sales are lost in follow up. And I can remember speaking, when you start looking at statistics and all this, the latest one that I was able to find was like 96% of those, just when trade shows were going on, people drop those business cards in that big fishbowl that people typically have.
Oh yeah.
96% of those never get followed up. And when you look at that as a statistic, you
Do you know
sit and say,
why? You know
no,
why?
why? Go, why?
So I've worked a lot of trade shows
Yeah.
um, for the previous jobs that I've done, the in-home sales stuff. And the reason is the same reason that we fall trap to with everything we do. We don't see the importance of it or the value of it. And so they think people just drop their name in there. They're not actually interested. They just wanted whatever was free. Because usually it's, well, a chance to win a $500 gift card or whatever, a trip or a vacation or whatever the case is. And so they figure, well, those people just threw their name in for that. They don't actually really care. Well, you might
But
be right.
okay,
There
so
might be some of
let's
those
play
people.
with that. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you dropped your business card in, and even if you were just looking to win a trip, you're interested in something. You visited the booth. So it's like, okay, there's your intro, right? But also, you can call the next 400 companies from prospecting, and they still might not even be interested. So why not go with the name that at least
Right?
to have the you're
Yes.
right. Like, I mean, it makes no sense. And this is so a couple of key things to follow up, and I think it's uh, I'd love to kind of inject this into the conversation. So one is, you know, my entire strategy or the way my brain works is the second you get a hold of a prospect, everything from that point is scheduled. Like,
Yes.
for all you reps out there that get a hold of a prospect and maybe don't schedule the next call or leave it to, okay, you know what, I'll send you some rates and I'll get back a hold of you. You see, I believe anyways, and I'd love your take on it, DJ, but I believe you're leaving your entire business to chance. Because how many
Yeah.
times have
Yeah.
you had a great call? Okay, we'll get back in touch. A week later, you don't get an answer. 2 week, and for like a month, you're chasing this person down, and it's as if they zero dark 30 and they're off chasing Osama bin Laden somewhere, and you're
We
just like,
might need to do that soon, by the way. No, I'm just
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, okay, so you're lost, right? Your follow up, you're like, man, we had a great call. Why aren't they calling me back? See, I believe, anyways, like even with these streams that we do, time is the most precious thing on the planet. And so that's why it's kind of like, okay, let's try and add
you,
as much value as we can in a very short period of time, because we don't have any idea about who, what, where, like it's we don't know what's going on in their lives, and because we don't know what's going on in their lives, it's critical that we schedule everything to say, okay, listen, if I get you rates by tomorrow at 2 p.m., will you have a chance to look at them by Monday at 9 a.m.? Well, let's schedule a call for 10. And if we continue that process, I found about a 38% decrease in my sales timelines just from scheduling my follow-ups after. What
guys,
do
if
you
you
find,
just
DJ?
use if you just use what he said right there alone, is going to make a huge difference in you progressing your initial call. Look, when we're so our first show with our series of, now we have a process we're following, was cold calling. If you're going to spend the time to cold call, guys, and it's so hard, why not follow up? You put all the work in, all the stress, said how hard it is. Why not follow up? Where are you? I never realized. I'll tell you, and you touched on time being so crucial. That's where I think, guys, you gotta time is what it's all about. And Dan mentioned about money, and money is freedom. Look, let's just say that financial responsibility and money and having enough money equals freedom. Uh, the whole goal of why we work is for money and for the things that we want and just a good life. But follow up. So Dan, what I will ask you this, and I'll go into what I use as well. But so again, follow up, like Dan mentioned, is probably I like to say, and when I talk to anybody, and even on our post for the event today, was where sales go to die, and this is why I say
Mm.
that. Um, Sales go to die there because you make that initial contact, like Dan's talking about. But if then you just drop the ball, because what a lot of salespeople do, well, we make that initial call, we maybe have our power hour, jamming the phones, we're sticking, we're being responsible, we're doing straight hour of calls. Now we made all those contacts, and then we just fill a notebook and they disappear somewhere. We never follow up unless somebody says, hey, do you have a load right now? And it's money right now. It's the same thing we talked about before, guys. Commission breath. Just because you're not making money right that minute, it's the follow up. And I like to call it the FU. This is this is how I put it in my. So I use a CRM. I use HubSpot. HubSpot's free. HubSpot's freaking amazing. I don't know what Dan. I'll ask you here in a second. You could go over what you use, but HubSpot's amazing. It's free. There's lots of added features if you want to be able to do email campaigns, all kinds of stuff. But it's also a way to organize and schedule. So your follow up needs to go in there and then schedule, like Dan said. The reason I put this FU on when I as it stands for follow up in my HubSpot. When you see if I schedule or have an initial consultation with somebody over the phone, then I do a FU follow up. But I do that for a reason, because what else do you think of when you see FU? You see FU. And I think that's where, and Dan, you're frozen, so I don't even know if we're still going, but it does say live, so I'm going to kind of keep going through. But FU, I think, is you can either follow up, and this is where to the customer, you're showing them how important they are to you. So if you follow up, that means they feel like they're important to you. You meant that your initial conversation and everything meant something. If you don't, you're basically telling them F you. And that's kind of how I use it. Dan, are you there? I don't even know if we're still live. So what is going on? Okay, so it's we lost Dan. I don't know if he's having some technical difficulty. I'm not even sure if I'm still live on here. But to the follow up, there why it's so important, guys, is again it's showing the difference of if you really care and want their business and care enough, or if you're just going to let them sit there. Uh, Give me one sec, guys. Trying to figure out if we're even still live. I think we're having some technical difficulties over here. Dan, where you at? Let's see. Hey, Tyler. Thank you. Okay, yes. So we are still live. So Tyler, thank you for sharing there on, I'm sorry, LinkedIn. So we are streaming, like Dan had mentioned, to multiple sources. Dan, hopefully, will be coming back. Hopefully, he hears me. I know prior to us starting, he was having some issues. Yep. And he did just message me. He was having some
Oh,
issues with his internet. Hey, there he is.
there we
Holy cow.
go. I don't know what happened. I
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
if
like,
you
what
stayed
is going
on
on?
or I don't know what
Thankfully,
happened.
thankfully, Tyler over there in LinkedIn, who's watching us, thank you so much, Tyler. But he had said we were still live. I had no clue if we were
Oh,
still
okay.
live.
Perfect.
So yeah. Um, but anyway, kind of to retouch on what I mentioned, Dan, and I don't know what you got to hear of it, but I basically just said, the FU and why I use it is it's either for me, it red flags me to either follow up or I'm telling the customer FU. I don't care enough. And
Mm. Actually,
and
that's a freaking cool way to look at it, brother. Like, I like that.
that's
You're
yeah,
either following up or you're telling the customer you're not, like, they're just not worth it.
they're not worth it. Yeah, that's
Ah, You know what? That was geez. Okay, I'm hoping that router over there stays online here because I feel like I missed so much gold there for a minute. But
Oh, no, no. But what about CRM? I mean, how do you
so
keep?
I use y'all are, most of you might laugh at this. Um, this is my entire business.
Oh, geez.
So, and Tyler's a student of this, so he'll jump in here. But all I do is I do everything old school. So I created this sales system probably
Oh,
my second year in the business, and for 26 years, I've never missed intentionally, like never missed a follow up that I didn't intentionally, for lack of a better term, make a choice. And what I mean by that is,
you didn't tell
um,
nephew. No.
well, no, pretty much. Like, so here's the thing: you touch base on it before I cut out. So before I cut out, I heard you have your power hour, and you did, like, and I'm a huge schedule guy. Like, I live by my agenda, and everything I do is in here. And so I have specific times during the day that I shut my phone off. I put my phone on do not disturb. I close my email. I close Messenger. I close everything that people can contact me, and I prospect. And when I was in the corporate world, I did the same thing. And it would be a matter of, okay, team, I'm closing my door. Leave me alone. Unless the world is blowing up,
Yes.
then come get me. And so what happens is I have my file system, and it's by month and date. And then as I get a hold of a contact, I put a little sticky note up and saying, September 10th, call back and da-da-da. So I move the things around. So I walk in, I grab everything for today for my follow-ups. That's primary. And then what happens is, secondly, then I do my prospecting, people that haven't heard of me. And here's the thing that I always found is when I lost my either dedication, persistence, necessity, whatever the word is that you want to use, and my hours that I had scheduled that day where I didn't follow up, that's when I lost. Because and it's funny, I had close to 20 something reps under me at one point in the office I was working in, and then I worked with a bunch in another province. And the one thing that was apparent is when you saw their prospecting and follow-up calls do this, within 30 to 60 days, their numbers did this. And when it did this, 30 to 60 days, their number did it. And you saw a very clear pattern on the prospecting follow-up to close ratio. And so with this system, I've never missed a beat unless, again, like I said, I chose to, meaning today is Thursday, the 2nd of September, and I say, you know what, I'm busy with a customer problem when really it probably could be solved in half an hour, and I take 3 hours to solve it because I'm procrastinating for some subconscious reason, and I don't do follow-ups.
Because we're
That's
human.
the only, yeah, 100%, right? That's the only time I found to be lost in follow-up. And here's another thing that I'll give everyone out there because I think it's super important. There's not only follow-up, but there's follow-up between follow-ups. So if we look at in July, July was client month in Inception, and I know you know about Inception, DJ. So Inception
Yes,
is
sir.
the flagship program for high performance logistics sales, and every Tuesday and Thursday we have a Q&A calls. And July, I brought customers in every week to talk about kind of what they see, what they hear, how they feel, and it was like by the third customer, and he says, you know what, like, bing, bang, boom, here's the deal. I am getting 3 to 4 to 5 times more calls a day than I ever used to. And I was like, what does that mean? One customer said, I get 25 calls a day. So think of it like this. And for all you sales reps out there, I just want you to really think of this for a second. If your prospects are getting 25 calls a day and you call and you have a great conversation, they say, you know what, call me back in a couple of weeks. I'll have some more time to talk about it. Let's just say 2 weeks, right? You think there's 500 people they've spoken to in that period. And in that period, okay, what is it that's going to separate you? That's where I talk about the follow-up between follow-ups. So in the conversation, you start talking about, resiliency in the market conditions, the way things have changed, and all these other things. Take detailed notes about that, and then go back and find articles, okay, that are critical to that conversation. And when you find articles that are critical of that conversation, send it to your prospects and say, hey, when we talked last week, I found this article today. I was reading this article today, and it really reminded me of our conversation. And give your prospect a synopsis of that article. Then what happens if you do this like twice a week for 2 weeks? When you call that customer back, you are at the forefront of their mind because you're the only one that followed up between follow-ups. That's a piece of gold. Oh, here, Tyler's come back with this now. Yeah, the financial bot carries a lot of weight, I must say, good for good reasons. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Tyler Sutherland was actually is one of the gentlemen that adopted this when I showed him this box strategy, and it's so good. Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate that, brother. That's a good backup.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good man. It's the way to do it. I mean, even to the point where, like, let's say my day got ahead of me, right? I'd bring this box in my car. And then in my car on the way home, I'd pull out the files for the prospects that I didn't get to that day. And I'd call them in my car and I'd say, hey, listen, DJ, you know what? I know the day kind of got a little bit ahead of me. I missed calling you at 3:00 today. I'm very, very sorry. Or we had said we'll follow up today. I'm very sorry. But I just want to let you know that I am thinking of you and I am, here's my follow up. Because here's what I think, DJ. And I'd love your take on this. And this might not be a fact for every single prospect you speak to, but I look at it and I say, when I call you and you say, okay, Dan, call me back on Wednesday, I act as if you wrote Dan, call me back on Wednesday in your agenda.
Yes.
And if I don't call you on the Wednesday, what does that tell you about my desire to work with you?
Yeah, exactly. It's
crazy.
It's the FU. But not the good one.
Go.
You're not following up. You're telling them, fuck you.
Yeah,
I don't know if
pretty much.
Say that. Sorry about that.
It's okay. If we get cut off, we get cut off. It's not like my internet hasn't cracked out already. So
yeah, that's basically what you're telling them, though. FU, and that's man. To Dan, so you said so much, and there's so many good things that you touched on that the follow up, I honestly I didn't realize until us going through our game plan and really talking about how important the follow up honestly is to me, and how I honestly take it so to heart. Like a lot of customers do, like Dan said, if you don't follow up, if you tell them you're going to call, you tell them you're going to do something, you better write it down and do it, because they're either going to think they just don't matter enough. Maybe, and a lot of people, a lot of clients that you're first reaching out to, again, like Dan mentioned, they're getting blown up by everybody. Everybody's wanting their business or to move a load just like you are. And if they're your client or you're really building a connection there, it's the FU, it's the follow up that's going to, like Dan said, little things like that. You have no. I'll give you some strategy of what I use, and if this helps anybody, perfect. I basically took the approach, and I take the sales approach. Me as a person, everybody who knows me now would be very surprised to know that I am very shy. I am an introvert, really, but I know that sales is and my ability to talk to people and my gift. Steve Harvey, my man, I've been listening to him lately, and he talks about your gift and realizing your gift, and I realized what my gift was. But um, it's definitely against who I am, though. I'm not in your face. I'm not, when I'm selling somebody, I'm not all energetic and that car salesman person, and that works for some people and that's their personality. But at the same time, man, I'm not that. And so I had to be very unique with how I approached it. But my theory is kids. Kids are the greatest salespeople you'll ever see. My son gets what he wants more than my 1 year old. My 4 year old gets more than what he wants than my 1 year old, because he is in your face. Just, he's there asking and asking. So he's going to get it before, and then you're like, oh crap, I gave it to him. Now I got to give it to her. It's the same thing that's happening here. If your customer is getting called by 25 different people, if you screw up, whether it's your fault or not, who is at the top of your customer's mind to replace you? And that's the same thing that you're trying to,
it's like
what you're
kids,
trying to do.
You think your son's forgotten about it because you're like, oh man, okay, he's on to something else. 3 days later, he's like, Dad, do you remember that time when you promised me that you do this? That's a good
Exactly.
follow-up because
Oh,
he's throwing that promise in the front of it, right? And
he's
yeah, so
never forgetting. He is like a
yeah,
lockbox. But
yeah, he's not like your prospects. Your prospects will forget about you
oh yeah,
like that,
in a
right?
second.
And
And
that's
that's
the thing, right? Like
and
we're outbound calling.
yeah, and
There,
to
no
your
prospect sitting
point
around
about
going, "I can't
forgetting.
wait for DJ to call me."
Yeah, they're
It just
yeah.
doesn't happen.
They're, even if you have the greatest conversation like Dan was talking about, it is really clicking. You guys found a common ground. It seems like there's more of the friendship because that's in the end that's what this is. But you find that common ground and it's really flowing. Well, they're going to have a million other things that are going on. They're as soon as they hang up the phone, they're probably dealing with the forklift driver screwed something up, or this happened, or that happened, or a driver's there, or whatever the case is, and they're forgetting totally about you. Not because it wasn't important to them, but because they have a million other things. And so that follow up is what keeps you in front of them. And so, like, an approach that I use, and anybody, if you want to use this, it's what I teach. Anybody who I've taught this to, I will always make a phone connection first because I think that's the most personable. Besides face to face, a phone and a voice is probably the only way to really build a stronger connection than just an email, LinkedIn message, or something like that. Once I make that contact, though, I literally send emails to them. And it's not just, hey, give me your business, but I always, like Dan mentioned, with value. A report maybe that seems like it fits their industry or could be beneficial to them. Maybe it's not giving me business, but it's helping them. So I'll send that in an email and, hey, just a reminder, we're here if you need any last minute or this or that. But again, giving them value. You have to give them value. Everybody listens to the channel. Look, we're human. Anybody who's done any kind of basic sales training has heard of the radio station WIIFM. What's in it for
What's in it
me?
for me?
That's what everybody's thinking.
Hmm.
What's in it for me? And so when you're sending those emails, if you want you, because in the end, you're just trying to be that kid that is in their face saying, well, hey, you're happy now, but if anything happens, remember me. Remember me.
Well,
And
and I'm going to challenge that for a second, DJ, in a very positive way, because a lot of people that say they're happy now, if we investigate, like, remember, so on Tuesday, for all of you watching on different platforms besides the Freight 101, we talked about cold calling and the fact that cold calling, it's like, I'm happy with my supplier. Great. What makes that supplier so good? You don't even want to hear what I have to say. And I would probably bet like a lot on the fact that probably 90% of customers just go through the motions and think they're happy. But really, if they were to give it like 5, 10 minutes of thought, they'd be like, I really want this to be better. I want this to be better. I want this to be better. Because I think in society as a whole, we settle, right? Like, and I
God,
know
yes, you're
I think we've all been there where we pay money for something and we're like, we really want that, but this is all we can get. Okay, I'll settle for it. And I think when we start digging into that psychology piece of it, I mean, think about it with your own business, all you sales reps out there, right? You start business with a customer, they are like the most important thing in your world, right? And then you add more customers and more customers and more customers. And it's not that they go to the bottom of the pile, there's just less attention for them,
mm,
right? But what happens is it's not like as if it's just you're top of the pile, then you're 10. It's like you're top of the pile, then you're 9, then you're 8, then you're 7, then you're 6, and you keep going down. It So Brian Byro, one of my mentors, put it to me this way. He says, it's like a hot air balloon. It's so vibrant and it's full, and you just put a pinprick in it, and then another one, and eventually you will deflate that hot air balloon. Not
mm.
that you're deflating the ability to serve, but that attention span goes to your customer. So if it happens to you, it's happening to every other sales rep on the planet, happening to every other customer. Why not investigate that? Because if you just start asking a few questions during your follow up, it might spawn that perspective in your customer's mind to say, holy crap, yeah, like I would like this. I'm paying to get this done. I would like this. Oh, my reports are not coming in at 9 o'clock. They're coming in at noon. Where he might not even like open the reports, but it's a fact that this is what I'm going to do and this is what happens. This is what I'm going to do and this is what happens. And it's that credibility piece, right? Your image, credibility, and brand. The number one thing you sell, no matter what you sell, is status. It's image, credibility, and brand. Us as logistics transportation providers, freight is a total byproduct. If you're selling freight, you're losing and losing hard for
Yes.
what you
Oh
can
my
be
God.
creating.
And he is so guys, Dan, what he just told you there, you really listen to that over again because he is right. We Anybody who goes in there with just, oh, well, I can move. Give me a load. I'll move your load. Let me handle your freight. You have any freight? You're not being any different than anybody else. That's calling them the other 25 people calling them, and they're not getting it either because you're not. You're first not doing and asking the questions like Dan is keeps telling everybody. With the way he really digs into it and learns the industry and the stuff that he knows, he only knows because clearly he asked the questions to really find out. When you ask those questions, you'll know because, and that's the way to know what kind of customer. There are clients out there, there's customers out there that it's just on rate. Maybe it's out of their complete control. It's just the way their business works or their industry is. There's nothing wrong with that. But those kind of customers are good for the big brokerage houses that don't give that personal touch that what Dan's talking about. The big guys out there, the big houses out there that there's customers that I work with personally that they won't use them because they know once they sign up with them, they don't know who they're actually going to talk to. And they know that if there's any issue, they're coming to me. If there's something goes wrong, it's me. If they're calling somebody, it's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. And
But that's the difference
you,
between client profiles, right? Like if a client is just after a rate, we had a gentleman in our when I was in the corporate world, all he did was chase freight. Like it was all about the rates. And you know what? He did pretty good. I mean, there were some months, 10, 15K in GP for a guy that'd been in the industry for less than a year. Very good numbers, right? But he went away on vacation and he came back to like a $200 week. And he came in my office and he lost his mind. And I said, but what do you expect? Like there is nobody that's going to chase freight the way you chase freight. No matter what, I don't care what company you're at. I would argue to the 10th degree with anyone that says if you are all chase freight and you're making 15, 20 phone calls for every single load at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 loads a day, you give that business to an operations team within a very short period of days where they're going, okay, I just spent 3 hours. I found a truck for you. And, I got it for $10 cheaper. Thanks. And they go somewhere else, right? The customer goes somewhere else. You're going to piss people off and they're going to eventually stop working for you. So there's degrees of business levels. And the big thing, DJ, I know we're going to touch on this in the next couple of, actually next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, we're going to touch on this when it comes to mindset and the strategy behind sales. But
yeah.
it's like, here's the fact, and I'll give you all a little tidbit to work with for the next couple of weeks is really identify your ideal client because everything starts with your client profile. Like for all you reps out there that have customers that deal only in price and you get business from them for like a month or something or 2 months or 3 months, and then all of a sudden business dries up because somebody realized, hey, I'm not getting the business anymore. I'm going to go in cheaper and cut your GP and gets the business. And let me say this again, you have zero right to off because you chose to work with that customer that does not care about relationships and only cares about money. And if that's the case and you choose that business model.
Uh-oh. You log it up again. Well, I'm going to see if I can maybe follow up to where he was at, just in case he did freeze up on us again. What he's talking about, guys, with that is you really need to figure out your value. The customer, your client, whoever you're working with, figure out what your goal is. In the end, the customer, your client, the people you're reaching out to, making these calls to, whether it's for logistics or anything, they have needs, they have pain points, and you won't find those unless you ask the right questions. Once you ask those questions, then you really, not every customer is for me. You hear Dan say that too, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, that just sounds like a lot of BS because, well, they probably just have so many customers, that's why they don't care. Well, that's not true for me, at least. I don't know about Dan. I can't speak for Dan, but for me, it's the is am I a as beneficial as I think that I am for that customer, and am I helping them? Because really, in the end, that's what we're doing, guys. We're trying to make their job easier. Whether it's the shipping manager, whether it's the VP of the company, whether it's they have other important things to do. Dan mentioned something in the beginning of this, and I'm going to kind of leave you with this. He talked about time being the most precious thing we have. Time, for sure, is the most precious thing we have. And our goal and your goal in business and life is to figure out how to get as much, and my goal is figuring out how to get as much of that time back as possible. I don't know if it was Jim Rohn or who it was, but said to really figure out and put a value on your time. And if there are tasks that are not that basically somebody else could do that is less than your time, you could be spending that time doing the more important things that is worth what you're worth. And when we can really think of that, but not only for ourselves, but think about that for the customer or the client that we're working with as well, they have a lot of different hats, especially depending on who you're dealing with and who handles the shipping decisions. If they, my large one of my large customers or clients, he my contact there, he's a shipping manager, but he not only is in charge of uh, dispersing and distributing
Oh,
the loads. Hey, I tried to keep it fun. But my largest customer, he not only handles, and so he's the shipping manager, is what they call him, his title, but he also he's in charge of the forklift drivers that are driving around loading up the trucks. He's handling and maintaining and the drivers coming in and finding and making sure they got the right numbers and load numbers and all of that. He's getting the calls. He's doing this and that. So my value to him is to make his job easier. So if he knows and has the confidence that, well, I know if I give the loads to DJ, that's one less thing off of my plate. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to make their job easier, and that's how I approach it with every customer. What can I do to make your job easier?
what can I
That's
do
what,
to make you look good? What can I do
yeah,
to help
and
you achieve
yes,
your goals? You're like,
yes,
what can I do to make you be the man or the woman in the office? So when people go, hey, you want something done? Go to them because they got the tools, strategies, and team that gets it done.
exactly. You got it, man. That was a perfect time to come in.
Well, you know what? I don't know what it is with my internet today. And for all y'all listening, like we literally went offline 3 minutes before we got online, and then I'm back and forth. So I apologize for that again. I'll have to
No,
check it out, and
no.
on Tuesday when we go live again, DJ, we'll get it all done. But
All right.
we ready to wrap it up, brother?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're good because I'm worried my internet's going to go offline again.
No, you're good. You're good.
For all y'all watching and getting frustrated with it, I do apologize.
Yeah, go ahead. If you want to finish up, and then I'll
You know
finish up.
what? It's just it's I think finishing up is if y'all want to follow one strategy, it's the FU strategy. You're either following up or you're telling the customer FU. Show that sign again, DJ. I mean, I think that is, I think that is styling, brother. That's a great. And if for all y'all that are watching, if I were you, I'd put that right on your monitor where you see it every single day on your wall, somewhere where you're looking at it, where it's saying if you're not following up, you're telling the customer to fuck you.
And guys, that's
Again,
not.
I don't know if we're gonna get cut off for that. Maybe
Oh,
my
guys.
internet will shut
Oh,
down for
wow.
that word.
I like it. That's it. We got to hit it with
But
that
you know
English.
what? Like nobody in this industry swears, so I don't understand what
Oh
the
yeah,
big deal
no,
is.
no, not the truck drivers. I never heard
Nah,
anybody in those big bro.
nah,
It didn't sound like the
never,
boiler room or
never. It
anything
was
like
like,
that. I don't
excuse
even
me,
know what
Mr. Customer. Yeah, I do apologize. Would you mind if we were? Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah,
that is.
yeah. Nobody's ever had a sales call hung up and went, right?
Yeah.
No, we've never done that as sales
No,
reps. So,
never.
all right, everybody, have a fantastic day. Remember, go out there, make every call educational, crush your sales, and you're only one sales sequence away. Got anything you want to say before we pound
Yeah.
out here, DJ?
Just what Dan said. The FU. Remember that, guys. And that's even not just for sales. Obviously, this is going to help you make money if you follow that, but in life, your friends, your family, your anybody. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Following up or reaching out to them, you have no idea how big of a difference that makes and how people perceive that. So just
The
follow
great
up.
philosopher Tony Montana said,
Yeah.
in this word, all I have is my word and my balls, and I'm not breaking them for nobody.
Yeah.
Follow Tony's advice.
I like that. That was good.
Take care, everybody.